everybody. Welcome back to Shelf Life, where I kind of take you on a mosey through my bookshelves and show you some stuff that I've collected over the years that might be kind of cool, might be kind of interesting, and in this case, might be kind of childish because we're getting into the Wayback Machine. And I'm going to show you a couple of books that I've kept from my childhood for various reasons. So the first one that I've got up is this little paperback novel here called, Magic Elizabeth. And this is by Norma Kassirer, and it's got illustrations by Joe Crush. So this was published in 1966. It's not in the greatest condition. As you can kind of see, it's a little ratty-tatty there, but at least I didn't draw in this one, so that's a bonus. I must have gotten it from maybe a school book fair or secondhand something, because it's got another girl's name in it, Sandra Harding. So thanks, Sandra Harding, whoever you were. So the gist of this book is that Magic Elizabeth is a doll. So this involves a little bit of time travel, a little bit of mystery, a little bit of, family relationships, and things like that. So Sally, the girl in the book, has to stay with a great aunt of hers for a length of time while her parents are out of town. The old lady is like a spinster, lives alone, crusty, no kids, has a black cat, of course. So she's like a kind of a little witchy, not evil, but definitely doesn't know what to do with children. So Sally here, so she, while exploring the house kind of thing, comes across this picture of a girl who looks pretty well just like her, dressed in old-timey clothes with this doll. So exploring the house, she finds these clothes and this diary up in the attic. Kind of plays a little dress up and reads the diary, and it turns out that the girl is also named Sally, and it was written in 1899, this diary. So the result of this is that she gets so sort of involved in this girl's, life through this diary that she starts dreaming about it when she falls asleep. So when she falls asleep, she almost like time travels back to 1899, and she's like living her life as the other Sally. So with different family, but in the same house, which is kind of neat. So it kind of becomes her, quest to find out who this other Sally was and what happened to her, and what happened to her doll, Elizabeth. So I'll show you some of the illustrations in here, and they're actually really nice. So here's one of Sally. God damn it. Here's one of Sally when she is playing dress up with her aunt's cat in the attic, and she finds the other Sally's clothes. And it's kind of neat that it goes into like sort of a lot of descriptive detail about the clothes as well. Like, for instance, the boots with all the little tiny buttons. So she has to, figure out how to deal with those and use a boot hook and things like that she's never seen before. So it goes into like some neat little Victorian details like that. And y'all know, I've said this previously, I am a sucker for Victoriana. So anything that goes into it like that. So I'll show you another picture here. This one is Sally in the attic with her great aunt's cat, Shadow, playing a little dress up there with the clothes and getting into the diary from 1899. So these are like actually like really, well done illustrations for just like a paperback kids book. It's actually one of my favorite things about it. And here she is with crusty old Aunt Sarah in the kitchen there making gingerbread men. So what happens is that Sally sort of gets so involved in this and so obsessed with like finding Elizabeth that eventually, through all these sort of little clues that she finds out through the house, it's revealed sort of at the end, spoiler alert, by the way, uh, she realizes that her aunt, Sarah, is actually Aunt Sally, and she was the girl who grew up in that house and had the doll, Magic Elizabeth, and still had the doll, actually. And that's why, she couldn't find it this whole time. But sort of as this progresses, Aunt Sarah sort of thaws towards having a kid in the house because probably she reminded her of herself, especially when she, sees how interested the new Sally is in her childhood and her life and things like that. And so sort of by the end of it, they realize that like they've developed like a real like relationship, like a real familial, caring, relationship for one another. And she's not this like scary old witchy lady, and even her cat is actually pretty nice. So it's a cute ending. Yeah, and I just really liked this because it had like time travel and Victorian stuff and dolls, cats, things like that, creepy old houses. So it played like a little, it was a little bit kind of creepy, scary when I was really young. But yeah, I keep it now because I've never seen this book anywhere else, and it's still a damn good story. So once in a while, I reread it. So I've got another book for you today because this one is super simple and it wouldn't have taken up a whole video by itself. But oh my god, is it ever fun! So I'm going to assume probably a lot of people watching this are fans of Labyrinth, the movie, with David Bowie as Jareth. And oh my god, it's one of my all-time favorite films ever, ever, ever. And the art direction and art creation and creation of the concept for the puppets and things like that, Jim Henson worked a lot of it on there, but he based a lot of it on the artwork and concepts by a man named Brian Froud. So Brian Froud, he's released a lot of sort of coffee table books and does a lot of concept art for other things. He also did the concept art for like the Dark Crystal and things like that. So like that style of fantasy art. And I happen to have this lovely little book, hardtable book, Brian Froud's Goblins. So here's the back. Where thorn trees abound, goblins be found. And the super fun part about this is that it is a pop-up book. So the art is absolutely gorgeous, where Edward takes Myrtle to the goblin forest to try and show her the goblins, but of course she is like the scientific lady here, and goblins don't exist. And so she absolutely refuses to see what's right under her nose. So I'm going to read it real quick because damn, it's cute. Edward took Myrtle to the wood to show her goblins. Goblins don't exist, Edward. And she saw a thorn tree, but didn't see any goblins. This is absolutely adorable. And you can tell how much I loved this book because everything is still in functioning order. Nothing is ripped. Nothing is stained. All the things still work. And that's how much I loved this book. She saw 3 toads but didn't see any goblins. She saw a fairy mound but didn't see any goblins. I gotta get better at holding these. It's hard. And even on the other side, they've got a little dude where you can like change his eyeballs and stuff. What? And she saw a fairy ring but didn't see any goblins. Totally unscientific, of course. So when you open it up, it's like just kind of uncrosses his ears. And she saw a cross-eyed bat but didn't see any goblins. Of course. because they hadn't in here. Oh, get back in there. Go. And she saw a hold stone but didn't see any goblins, and she was absolutely right that they never existed. But it's a nice little upside down, can view it from both sides picture at the end there. So yeah, I was never really big into pop-up books or anything like that, but since this one was so fantasy based, and I was like so big into fantasy as a kid, oh my god, plus Labyrinth, plus like that whole sort of thing. I think my dad bought me this. I don't know how old I was, but it was originally published in 1983. So I mean, this is like even like he might have gotten it for me when Labyrinth came out because that came out in 1986. Um, so he might have gotten it for me at that point. I would have been like 8. Yeah, that sounds about right. So probably after Labyrinth came out, and my dad actually has a couple of other art books by Brian Froud. One is called Fairies, and I don't remember. I think the other one's Giants, and it's just sort of like illustrated as like little encyclopedias, things like that of like different creatures, fairies, nymphs, goblins, imps, like um, from like local areas in like the UK and things like that. So that's actually pretty cool. And a little bit of a pop quiz here also. Brian Froud in Labyrinth, the baby was played by his son, Toby Froud, who actually grew up to take over kind of doing the concept art and things like that. So like the new Dark Crystal that came out, I think it was, I want to say 2020. I think it was right at the beginning of the pandemic. That sort of sequel to like the Dark Crystal that came out, which was fantastic. He did all the concept art for that because his father's passed away. Sort of same as like how Jim Henson's like son sort of took over like Henson Enterprises and did all the puppets for it. So they kept like all of that like creative art people like in concept and direction and everything together for that, and that's why it worked so well. Seriously. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed those 2 little forays into books from my childhood. If you guys want to see some more books from my childhood, because my dad used to buy me some really cool stuff, actually. So I've got some more things kicking around there, and I think one of these days I'm going to pull out some garbage delight for you and do some of that poetry because it is just whack and fantastic and Canadian. So yeah, leave comments below if you want to see more kid stuff, and I will see you later with another episode. Bye.